Hey everybody, today I want to talk about the Beatles song Please Please Me, and specifically what I consider to be the best sounding version of Please Please Me that you can get on vinyl. Now I gotta give credit where credit's due. I was made aware of this particular pressing of Please Please Me by Andrew over at Parlogram. If you have not seen his videos or checked out his channel, he is, in my opinion, the definitive Beatle expert here on YouTube. He's amazing, his videos are great, he's a super nice guy. If you haven't seen his videos, do so right now. There's a link down below that you can go right to his channel. But one of his videos, he talked about Please Please Me and this particular pressing. And so after I watched his video, I went and tracked this down, and it truly is just, in my opinion, the version of Please Please Me. So let's get into this right now. This version of Please Please Me, this is the Beatles, by the way, I should mention. This is the second single released by the Beatles in the UK. It went to #1 in some of the UK charts. In some of the other UK charts, it went to #2, which is why you will not find it on the Beatles' One compilation album that has all their #1 hits. Even though, famously, of course, George Martin in the studio, after the Beatles finished recording Please Please Me, he said, lads, you have your first #1 hit, which was true in a sense, but also not true in another sense. Anyway, it's still a great song and one of my favorite of the early Beatles songs. So where can you find this particular pressing that sounds so great? And why does it sound so great? I'm gonna answer those questions right now. I'll tell you where you can't find it. First of all, you can't find it in this box set. So this is a UK singles box set from the 1970s. I believe it's 1978, and it would look something like this. While this sounds very good, and it was cut from, it's an all analog cut from the original master tapes of the single of Please Please Me. This is the later single that they got the master tapes from. So this version of Please Please Me, while it sounds pretty good, is not the version that I'm talking about. You also cannot find it in the 2015 singles collection box set, which I love this box set, by the way, but unfortunately, again, doesn't have this version of Please Please Me that I'm talking about. So this is the single from this box set, and while it sounds really good, it is not the version that we're talking about. The version we're talking about is this one right here. Now, this is not a first pressing, but it has the same stampers as a first pressing. This is, I believe, from 1964, maybe late 63 or 64, but this is a UK pressing of Please Please Me on one side and Ask Me Why on the other side. Now, the way to know if you have the version that I think is the best version is to look in the dead wax. Now, some of you before in some of my other videos have been asking, what is the dead wax? And I understand if you're new to records, new to record collecting, hearing all these like random terms, can be very daunting, of course. Like anything you get into, a new hobby you get into, there's all kinds of words like catchphrases and stuff, nicknames for things that you have to learn over time. So I don't want to just assume you know what dead wax is. Now, if you really want to figure out some of the Beatles anatomy of a record, I made a video specifically for this. So you can click up here, watch the video. It's the anatomy of a Beatles record. But just to roughly explain what the dead wax is, you have the label of a record, which is of course right here. Then right outside the label, there's like a blank space, or the dead wax is what a lot of people call it, which is basically it's in between the grooves of the song and the label. This is the dead wax. Within the dead wax, there is a number and a bunch of etchings in there known as a matrix number. So for this Please Please Me that I think sounds the best, and which Andrew also thinks sounds the best, I think, you want to have it say, there's a bunch of numbers, I'm not going to read all of them, but the last two numbers and letter will say 1N. 1N is what you want for Please Please Me. It sounds absolutely amazing. So, like I said, after Andrew made his video, I went and tracked this down. And by the way, this is in no way a mint pressing or a near mint pressing. I would say it's like a VG Plus, and it sounds really, really good to me. It's relatively clean is what I would say. Definitely a nice listening copy. And the reason this sounds so good is because this particular pressing has less reverb than all the other mono pressings of Please Please Me. They have added reverb on those. And while it's not necessarily something that ruins a song, when you hear this and compare it to the versions that you get in this box set and that box set, there is quite a difference. This one has a lot more attack, is what I would say. It's drier, obviously, because there's less reverb, and it's way more in your face, and in my opinion, the way it's really supposed to sound. It's just such an excellent, excellent, excellent sounding version of Please Please Me. And I gotta say, of course, if you are just new to music, new to records, I shouldn't say new to music, but new to collecting records and new to listening to differences, subtle differences in songs, of course, this is not a huge, huge difference between this particular sounding Please Please Me and this original one. But if you have been listening to Please Please Me for a long time and you've been a student of the Beatles, this is quite a revelation. And the other thing I should say is Ask Me Why on the B-side also sounds really, really nice on here. And in fact, it's probably even a little bit drier than Please Please Me on here. Because the other versions of Ask Me Why that you can find like on those other box sets have a lot of reverb is what I'll say. And it's almost like you don't realize how much reverb's on there until you hear this early UK single, and then you are made aware of how much reverb was applied to the later pressings of Please Please Me and Ask Me Why. Now, there's a lot of information about why this is the way it is, this particular pressing. And it has to do with the way the early Beatles material was recorded. So let me first make a disclaimer here. I'm in no way an expert on this. I just read this information, or I've heard it from Andrew, or heard it from other people here on YouTube. So I'm just kind of relaying it to you to my best ability of how I understand it. So, and I'm going to give a very simple version of it. Basically, when the Beatles were recording their early material, the only thing that existed was a 2-track tape machine. So for the 2-track tape machine, they would generally record the instruments on one track and the vocals on another track. And then they would just mix that together into a mono pressing. And if they wanted to do stereo, of course, they only had those 2 tracks to work with. So you have instruments on one side, vocals on another side. But for this is mono. So that's how they recorded it. But at the same time they were recording onto the 2-track tape, they were also recording what was called a delta master. Now I believe that's what it's called. And basically what that is instead of recording onto 2 tracks, they were just recording it onto 1 track of both those tracks together onto one for a delta master. So that was basically to make things easier for the producer and engineer. If they got the take perfect, and there didn't have to be any edits or any overdubs or anything like that, and the balance was good, they could use that delta recording and not have to mix. On the delta recording of Please Please Me, it had less reverb. That was what was used to press these early pressings of Please Please Me and Ask Me Why. Now, again, I could be getting a couple of those things a little bit not exactly right, but that's basically why we have this, is because the later pressings, these ones on these boxes, this brand new one, which is 15, uses the 2-track master. And this is the delta master. So that's why you get less reverb. That's why you get a bit more presence on this. And what's really kind of too bad is the fact that when they made this 2015 box set, which was supposed to be all of the original UK singles pressed how they would have been heard in the 1960s, all analog pressing, they did everything right on that box set, except for this one bit right here with Please Please Me. Now, perhaps, I don't know if this is true, but I'm just trying to kind of speculate here. Perhaps the reason why they weren't able to create a pressing of Please Please Me, Ask Me Why, the Delta version, is because the master doesn't exist anymore. That's very much a possibility. Now that is probably also true with She Loves You. She Loves You, of course, famously, the master tape of She Loves You, the original, I should say, 2-track tape, does not exist anymore. In fact, even the, I believe the master tape of She Loves You, I think this is true, doesn't exist anymore. They just have like a second generation tape copy of She Loves You. I'll get into that later, by the way. There's a pressing of She Loves You that's also quite amazing, but that's for another video. Anyway, this version of Please Please Me is excellent, and I highly recommend picking it up if you can. I found this one on eBay, and it came from the UK, so you have to pay shipping, which is a little bit unfortunate. Shipping lately has just been through the roof, is what I'll say. But I was able to get this for a pretty good price, and like I said, it's not in amazing shape, but it's in good enough shape for me, and I'm very, very happy with it, is what I'll say. So if you are looking to listen to this version, highly, highly recommend tracking one of these down. And again, you want it to have one N in the dead wax. That is what you're looking for with this particular version of Please Please Me and Ask Me Why. So I hope that was provided you with a bit of information to seek out this particular pressing of Please Please Me. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned, I have lots more. I know I've been making a lot more videos lately, and it's really due to the fact that I have a little bit more time. My daughter is just a little bit older. It's crazy, every day she gets a little bit older. And so she's becoming a little bit more independent. Doesn't need mom and dad quite as much, but she needs us a lot. But just have a little bit more time, so while she's napping and all that kind of stuff, I'm able to make these videos. And I've been really enjoying it, and I hope you have been as well. So more to come. Take care, and bye for now.